Hello, once again, I am Tiberius, and I just feel like making this, it's not really a random video, but there isn't too much going on with it. I have these two big stones in these pouches that I use almost every one of my sessions I wanted to go over, and I have these pouches with stones in them that I just wanted to give you all ideas for we'll get to that. Okay, so first I'll go over these stones. So not this one. So in this pouch I have a rough piece of black tourmaline. Okay, and it's got a few white flakes in there, but other than that it's just this big chunky black stone. In better lighting it shines a little bit more. Speaking of which, okay, maybe that helps a little. So yeah, it's a little bit shinier, but this rough piece is not too bad. But a lot of rough pieces I've seen and held, they have like when you pull your hand away, there's like all this black soot. It's almost like it's like coal. If you picked up coal, it sticks to your finger. This piece isn't that bad. I don't know if it's because I've worked with it so much that I've kind of taken it all off, or if it just wasn't really like that. But anyways, what I do with this piece is when I have my client laying on the table, in between where their ankles are, I will place this chunk of tourmaline in between their ankles. And the reason why is because, well, tourmaline, like most black stones, one, it's good for grounding. It's associated with the root chakra, even though the root chakra is like in the tailbone area. You know, technically that's, well, it's not the last chakra at the end. There's still the Earth Star one, but when they're laying down, the Earth Star is really in the Earth itself. So the root chakra is like the closest one to it. Anyways, when I work on a client, I start from the head usually, and I work my way down to their feet. And that's usually when I finish like flushing out all of the energy that was inside of them that was like stuck or not moving or needed to be moved out. So that's kind of how I visualize it, is I'll start around the head or the heart and throat area, like right around here. And I kind of envision it happening two ways. Like, one, the energy is just going into the body. It's just filling up the body, and it's, you know, working with the chakras as it's doing that. And the other thing is I visualize all the energy that I'm putting into them is kind of pushing down and out through the legs. So it's going from the head and it's pushing all the way down and out through the bottoms of the feet. And it's kind of like flushing. Like if you're flushing out like a drain line, you know, that's kind of how I envision it as well. It's just poof, I'm putting all that energy in there until it pushes all the blockages out. And then boom, you got all this free flowing energy just going through the whole physical and energetic body. And then I just start working down the abdomen or midsection area, the torso, and then I do the legs, the thighs, the knees, the shins, and then lastly the feet. And as I'm at the feet, I'm usually kneeling on the ground and I have my hands on the person's feet, and I'm visualizing all the energy like shooting out and immediately like shooting down like a sharp 90-degree angle into the earth itself. And a lot of that energy is passing by this chunk of stone here, this black tourmaline, and it's gathering any dense energy that, let's say, as I'm trying to flush it out, it's like, no, I don't want to go. This will grab onto it, or it will cling to it, and it will absorb a lot of that dense energy as well. So that's why I place it around the ankles, is so it's there just to catch any of that energy that like tries to go against the current and go back into the body. So that's what this guy is for. It's pretty nifty. This is a stone where you want to cleanse it and and purify it regularly. So pretty much after every session, I will take this one and put it on a selenite log. Like if you watched my previous video about that, this is one of the pieces that I'll put on there pretty much every single time, even if it didn't collect that much, or even if it didn't collect anything at all. It's just that these particular kinds of stones, black stones, where their sole purpose, or one of their main purposes, is to absorb negative energy until it's full. You know, I just want to have it as cleansed and primed as much as I can every single time. So it doesn't hurt to cleanse and recharge them every single time. Next one I'm going to go into is one of my personal favorites, and this is the Black Obsidian Sphere. It is one of my more beautiful pieces, I think, and no matter how I roll it, it's literally just a black shiny ball, glass-like surface. But it's got the same properties as the black tourmaline I just showed you. It absorbs dense negative energy and pretty much holds on to it until you cleanse it of that. But this is a really good piece. This is also for grounding and is associated with the root chakra. But what I do with this is when I'm getting near the end of my session, after I've, worked like everything out through the bottoms of the feet, past this guy here, and I'm pretty much just trying to, I don't know what you want to call it, but like kind of dust off anything else that's left, any residual energy that's in the auric field or whatnot. I'll pull this guy out, and what I'll do is I'll hold it in my hand, and I usually start around the head or shoulders or wherever I'm at, and I just hold it in my hand, and I just kind of go back and forth all the way down the outer edge of the body, like around the feet, and then back up to the top of the head. And I do at least one complete circle, but I might go around 2, maybe 3 times. And all I'm visualizing is, as I'm doing this, it's like vacuum sucking. It's, any excess dense energy that I might have somehow missed, will get absorbed into this thing as I'm doing that. So it's really just like one last little bit of touch-up work on the client before I finish up, but same thing with this as the black tourmaline. When I'm done, every session I finish with this, I go home and I immediately put it on like my selenite log, so it starts to cleanse and recharge and purify itself, and so next time I use it, it's ready to be used. Selenite log is usually good enough for the 2 of these. That's fine. But if you work in if you're working on someone who's like saturated with all this dense energy, which only maybe like a couple rare occasions I've come close to that, these things will be like full, like almost overflowing with dense energy, and you can, depending on your sensitivity to energy, like you'll pick, like if you pick these up, you'll feel it, like you'll almost like feel like it's stinging your fingers, and you'll have to like put it down and be like, or whatever. So like maybe you use like a towel or something to like grab it and then put it in your pouch and then take it home and cleanse it or whatever. But if it's ever that bad, another thing you could do is, before you put it on the selenite log, is just, sage it, or smudge it rather. Smudging is what you do. Sage is one of the things you can smudge with. Sorry, I had to remind myself that, because I use white sage and I use Palo Santo, or holy wood, which they both do the same thing. There's a lot of tools that you can use for smudging. I'm actually going to make a video about that next week, if I haven't mentioned that already. But I will smudge the hell out of these things. I'll take a chunk of white sage usually, only because I can get like more smoke out of it than Palo Santo. But yeah, I'll light it up to where it's like just fuming out all of this smoke, and I'll just hold these things over top of it and just like watch it get just coated and covered in the smoke. And I do that for like a couple of minutes each, or until I feel like enough's been smudged out of there, and then I'll just put on a selenite log overnight and let it do its thing. I'm thinking about it, but out of the two of these, I can't really say which one holds on to energy more, meaning like which one I would have to smudge more because it takes more to release. I don't know if that's really a thing, actually. If it really depends on which kind of stone or crystal you're using. If it holds on to it, or if it like this, I imagine it just slips right out. Kind of like, if something was rubbing against the surface of it, it's so smooth, it just rolls right off. But either way, so I also kind of wanted to just show these guys off. Like this is a good chunk. It's one of the biggest ones I've seen. Definitely not the biggest one I've seen, but it's still a good size one. And the story behind this was I was actually, I don't know, I had a dream or a vision about a smooth spherical piece of obsidian, and I knew exactly what I wanted to use it for, which is why described in this video. And I started looking around the area that I lived at, trying to see if I could find something like that. And the only thing I found at the time was it was a small sphere like that big around kind of thing. It was like less than half this. It was not a satisfactory size. I wanted something just like this, kind of like an 8-ball in pool. So, and I had a mentor at the time, the shamanic friend of mine who was mentoring me at the time. I told him about it, and the next time I saw him, he gifted me this. Apparently he had one, and I think he found it interesting that I mentioned that, and he's like, in his mind, he's like, well, I have one. That's funny that he mentioned that. I wonder if I'm meant to gift this to him. And it's nice because, I don't know, a week or two before, he was telling me he was looking for black obsidian arrowheads, and not like the small arrowheads that most people have. He wanted one that was big. I found one, and a day or two after he told me about that, I went to this one place nearby, and they just happened to have a dozen of these. They're literally as long as my hand, these black obsidian arrowheads. Obviously I don't have it, otherwise I'd show it off because it's a beautiful piece. But he wanted it for cord cutting ceremonies and stuff like that, and I totally get it. I should have gotten two, one for myself, but either way, I got it for him. I gifted it to him because he mentioned it, and he did so much for me up to that point. I was like, here you go, man, here's a gift. So I guess he felt like when I mentioned this, that it was his way of returning the favor. It's like, well, you got me the obsidian arrowhead, here's your obsidian sphere. All right, either way, but that's the story behind that. So those are those two stones. I'm gonna go ahead and put them away, and the next part that I want to get into in this video is, well, pouches, pretty much. So I have these two pouches that have stones in them, right? And this is not an uncommon thing for people to do. A lot of people will get pouches and they'll just put a bunch of stones in them. Maybe it's their entire collection if they're just starting out. Maybe it's all these stones have particular properties that they want to work on with themselves, so they'll put a bunch of those stones into a pouch and they'll carry it around with them on their person and just let that energy pretty much just sink into their energetic body and do the work, and I do this quite often, quite frequently. In this pouch, I know what this pouch is for, and let's see what I have in here. I have quite a bit. Let me see if I can do this. See if that helps instead. Okay, so that's that, and that's that. Okay, and these are all the same thing. Alright, so set those aside. So this, you might recognize this from a previous video, but this is Garnet. This one, I'm actually going to move the camera back up so we can get the lighting part better. Anyways, this is Garnet. I have 3 pieces of Garnet. 2 of them are in a rough original format where it looks pretty much like a rough stone with a little bit of red, but this is one that's been shaped intentionally. You could probably see all the smooth cutted edges and sides on it, but this is like, I'll call it like jewelry format. You know, it's been smoothed out and all that. But anyways, that's my piece of, I'll call it tumbled garnet. Tumbled garnet. These 2 red pieces here are Mookieite. And the thing about Mookieite is the color the stone is which chakra it pertains to. Right, so these are red. This one, well, it's not really coming in orange, but it's kind of an orangish tint on that one spot. I don't know, from there it looks kind of like it's almost gray or pink. But anyways, so these are associated more with the root chakra, but somewhat with the sacral chakra. This guy here, the garnet, is also a root chakra. This is Hessonite garnet, and it's a nice piece. Yeah, this one is associated with the root and sacral chakra. And these pieces here are all red tiger's eye. And I think I have 9 pieces altogether. And the reason why I have that, and you know, it may sound silly to you, but to me it's not that silly. What a lot of these stones have to deal with, well, one thing in common that these stones have to deal with is the root and sacral chakra. So this pouch is pretty much like focused on that. Like when I wanted to do healing work on my root and sacral chakra, because there was a while there where I had some energetic issues there because of past traumas. This helped with that, but then I threw in the red tiger's eye in there because red tiger's eye stimulates and encourages sexual energy and life force energy. And I was really big into that for a while when I had a girlfriend, and we were working on practicing sacred arts, I'll put it that way. I wanted to have more energy so we could practice more frequently. That's like the PG-13 or PG version of that story. But yeah, that's mainly what I got it for, was to do that. And I'm not gonna lie, it frickin' worked. It worked too well, to be honest. Like, I had to, when we finally broke up and ended our relationship and moved on or whatever, I would try carrying this around once in a while when I was feeling frisky or whatever. But I learned to stop doing that because I'll just put it this way: if you're gonna work with these kinds of stones for that particular purpose, just save it until you're actually in that kind of a committed relationship with someone. Otherwise, you're just really just going to annoy yourself with how much extra energy you have. So moving on from that slightly embarrassing story, I have this pouch, which I've actually been working on with the past week or two. Actually, after I made the third eye and crown chakra videos, around that time I had done a service. Actually, I have it written down here: quantum healing hypnosis session. I think it was therapy, but it's a quantum healing hypnosis. And if any of you are familiar with Dolores Cannon and her work, that's pretty much what it is. She would, I don't want to go too much into it because this is definitely something I make a whole video about, so I'll save it for that. But excuse me, who knew bananas burp so much? Quantum healing hypnosis is where it's this method of hypnosis that puts you under, and what it does is it draws your subconscious to the forefront of, your consciousness, and usually your consciousness kind of goes like night not always, but usually that's how it works, and the subconscious comes forward to answer questions for you and to bring about healing as well. And it also has to do with past lives. It will you will usually take you to certain past lives that are relevant, or if you have questions about particular past lives that you've had, the subconscious will help answer those questions and then even tell you how it relates to or pertains to your current life or any situations that you're experiencing in your current life, because not all things that we experience, not all lessons that we're going through and trying to learn stem from this lifetime. You could be a good person and you just seem to have like a really bad stroke of luck throughout your whole lifetime, like just bad people always coming in, or you're always sick, or you're always injured, and you have like a lot of people that come in to this world with some kind of ailment of some sort or disability. Like half the time it's something they agreed to do for them to learn for that lifetime, but it can also be something from a previous lifetime that was brought forward into this lifetime because you weren't able to actually, finish that lesson from before. And some people might say that it might be like something karmic, but when you put it like that, people might think, oh, I'm being punished in this life because I, wasn't punished enough in that life for what I did. Like, I did a lot of bad stuff, got away with it, and then just quickly died one day. And then, you got away with it pretty much, except for the dying part, So it's like, well, you come back a lifetime or two later, or 3. It doesn't always have to be like immediately. But you come back and now you have all these things wrong with you, and you're not a bad person in this life, but you have all these things, and it's like you feel like you're cursed or something. Curses, I'm not going to get into that. But, it could very well be that something you're experiencing in this lifetime is stemming from another lifetime. And the reason why you can't figure it out is because, whatever this is supposed to be attached to, even if you're given clues or answers, it doesn't make sense. I haven't done anything that pertains to that. There's a good chance it's because it's not from this incarnation. It's from a previous incarnation from before. So this is another area where this kind of therapy or this work can help. So you talk to your subconscious, like, what is this ailment or affliction that I have pertain to in which lifetime? Can you please tell me that? And it will tell you that it was in this one lifetime, this is how you were, this is why it came about, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you weren't able to finish a lesson, you agreed from somewhere between there and here, you agreed to have something like this happen so that you could resolve it in this lifetime. And probably because somewhere along the line you knew on a soul level that you were going to come across this method of healing, and this would get brought up so that you could address it and heal from it and learn from it and all that wonderful stuff. Okay? So that's what quantum healing hypnosis is about in a nutshell. There's probably more to it. Like I said, I'll make a whole nother video about it later. And but anyways, around the time I was making the third eye stone video and the crown chakra stone video and all that is when I actually experienced my first session of quantum healing hypnosis. And it was It was a very interesting experience, to be perfectly honest. I have had, well, I've convinced myself that I have had a difficult time trying to communicate with my spirit guides, my higher self, my subconscious, my ancestors, angels, and other angelic beings, and spirit, and the universe, and so forth and so on. Like, I always felt like there was something blocking me from being able to just directly connect and link to these people and communicate with them, almost like directly. You know, even though I've been doing all this work, and for like the last 4 or 5 years alone, I've been trying to do that kind of work because I want to be able to communicate with them on a more solid basis, you know, not because I always feel like I'm kind of guessing. Like, sometimes I get really good intuitive feelings and I'm like, yes, it's very clear that this is what you're trying to tell me. But there are also plenty of times where I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to say. I want more clarity. And even though I ask for clarity over and over again, I just wasn't always getting it. It felt like there was always some kind of resistance, and it took me a while to learn that it was me. Like, somehow I was manifesting this resistance, even though I was the one who wanted these answers. So after doing this session, I found out that it was mainly me, and the subconscious spoke through me, and it was all recorded, so I got to listen to a recording later. But the subconscious spoke through me and pretty much explaining to me that there was some blockage there, and it was self-imposed or self-inflicted or something like that, but that I've declared that I was done with that. I don't want that anymore. I want there to be a clear, open channel for me to connect, and so we can communicate more, and with, you know, more communication on that level, I can learn so much more. I can get so many more answers and questions answered and stuff like that. It's all about a learning process, you know. I've learned through books, I've learned through videos, I've learned through listening to people lecture and stuff like that, workshops, all that. But there's such a deeper level of knowledge and wisdom that we can tap into, and we just don't, because either we have all this doubt or we just don't realize that we have that, you know. But I'm going into such a deep topic. I do that all the time, don't I? So anyways, after listening to the recording and the subconscious told me, it's like, hey, the channel is open more now. It's going to be easier from this point on to connect with us. You're still going to have to do the work, but it's open. So when I got home, and after listening to that, all I wanted to do was, you know, get all the stones together that I know are good for that specific purpose, wanting to connect to higher beings and angelic beings and so forth and so on. And so I gathered them all up and put them in a pouch, and I have been holding on to this pouch ever since then. So, excuse me. So I have my labradorite palm stone. Alright. That's good for psychic connection and communication and connecting with, you know, higher density beings. Lapis lazuli, same thing. These are all pretty much for that. Angel light, good for communicating with angelic beings. Angel light makes sense. Ancestral light. This is for well, it's for that too, but this is also mainly for like connecting to ancestral lineages and past lives. You know, I actually took this with me when I did the quantum healing hypnosis for that reason, to see what it would do. And we got Quantum Quattro here. This helps connect the top 4 chakras, so crown, third eye, throat, heart. You know, it just makes sense. This helps with that. I have Manifest Light, which if I can get it close enough, you might be able to see the silver flakes that are inside of it. Ish. But this is for same thing. Well, one of its properties. is for connecting with, communicating with higher beings, higher spirit guides and such. And azeztulite, it looks kind of chalky, but it's like a white stone. This is associated with all chakras, so that's pretty cool. This also helps with kundalini energy. It also helps with spiritual work and going through the ascension process and stuff like that. And it also helps, I believe it helps with when you're trying to do the work to gain higher knowledge and higher levels of your abilities and such. It helps to where, like, say you try to astral travel, where your energetic or etheric body, astral body, whatever you want to call it, like separates from your physical body. It's usually connected by an energetic cord, so there's still that, but it leaves and you go travel and do stuff, whatever you want to do. This makes it to where it helps anchor you, that astral body, to the physical body, so you're much less likely of anything weird happening and somehow getting separated, which is not as easy as it might sound. It's actually a very difficult thing to do, only if you somehow convince yourself to separate like that. Or I don't know, some people try to say that these entities can come and like sever that cord between you and your physical body, and then after that you're pretty much done. Your physical body's going to die and your astral body's going to just go back to being a soul, and you're going to have to start all over again. I'm not going to say that that's not true, but I believe that it's very, very, very unlikely that kind of thing happens anywhere near as much as some people might try to say, if at all. And to be honest, that kind of information, that knowledge, is almost always stemming from a place of fear. And if you go into this kind of work with fear, you're going to run into all kinds of obstacles. Just don't be fearful. I mean, it might be exciting and frightening a little because it's new, but not frightening like, oh my God, this is terrifying, I don't want it anymore. No, it's more like, oh wow, like you've seen something brand new in your life, this is incredible. That kind of like frightening or terrifying, like a wondrous kind of terror. It's weird to put it that way, but that's kind of how it is. So anyways, this stone helps keep your bodies anchored together. As hypothetically, if something tried to come along and be like, oh, and tried to cut that cord, this would help prevent that from happening. So anyways, moving on from there, the last piece I have is Moldovite. And a lot of people, even people getting into this kind of realm of stuff, of knowledge, probably have heard of Moldovite. It's an incredible stone. It's not of this world, literally. It's from a meteorite that came from somewhere else and landed here, depending on who you talk to, like millions of years ago. But this is also really good when you're trying to do that kind of work, where you're trying to connect with higher beings and such. So I have this whole pouch that's dedicated just to that, and I've been carrying around with me. I've been meditating with it. Last couple of nights I've been sleeping, I've been working on actually doing astral traveling again, because I've tried it a couple times in the past, and one time I almost got out of my body, but when I realized what was happening, I had that split second of like, that shock, and slapped my astral body right back into my physical body. And after several frustrating attempts like that, you just kind of turn off to it for a while. But anyways, I'm getting back into that, and I'm just carrying this around with me all the time. And when I go to sleep, I put it right next to my pillow. Sometimes, if you're working with particular stones, like if you have 1, 2, or maybe even 3 stones, you can put them in your pillowcase and sleep at night, so they're like right there working with you, right? But this is like 9 stones, I think, so that's too many I have on my pillowcase. I just put it next to my pillow to where I know I won't roll over it. And I gotta tell you, even if I'm not working on astral traveling, I have had much more in the way of dreams this past week, and I know that it's in part because of these stones. and because my channels have opened up apparently. And I've actually been experiencing a lot of dreams dealing with people I knew from my past, like in this life. People that, a lot of them are people that I let go of years ago. If you watched one of my videos on my spiritual awakening story and all that, I talk about how I got out of the military service, and the first year and a half that I was out and back in South Carolina, I was pretty much getting rid of or cutting out all the people that no longer served my highest good, and that was pretty much like 99% of my friends that I knew since high school from my life. And that's about 10 to 16 years worth of time that I knew some of these people, you know. So anyways, the reason why I showed these pouches is because I want to let you know that that's an idea you can do. Like if I had a time where faith, like I was having faith issues, even though I've been doing this spiritual work for a few years, I was having faith mainly in myself and my capabilities. So I actually got a white pouch and filled it with stones that pertain to faith. Angelite, which is in here, was one of them. Clear quartz was another one. I honestly can't remember the others. It was like 7 or 8 different stones. But if you do the research, if you go to these places, I mean, if you go to these places and the people there are legit, like they're knowledgeable about what they're selling, you know, and the work that they do, they can help you out, you know. Just go in there and be like, this is what I'm looking for. I want to make a pouch, so I want to put like a bunch of different stones that all have to do with the same kind of property or work I want to do. They'll help you pick out or figure out which stones there are available, and then pick them out, and you can sort through them and pick out what you want and put them in a pouch and just carry the pouches around with you and just do that kind of work. You know, I made a pouch for a friend of mine who is a psychic, but even though he's been doing the work and he even did a couple sessions with me and he's phenomenal, he has like confidence issues. He's scared to go out there. He doesn't like, you know, he doesn't feel like he's being legit, or he doesn't like telling people bad news, you know, things like that. He's terrified of putting himself out there. So I made him a pouch that had to deal with confidence, courage, willpower, those kinds of things. I got all these stones and I put it together and I gifted it to him. And as far as I know, to this day, he still carries it around with him. And last I heard, he actually put himself out there, at least on Facebook, he put himself out there, but like on a internet forum kind of way, he's out there. So that's a step forward, I believe, you know. So it's always a good idea if you want to do it for yourself, or if it's something you want to do for someone else. You know, there's pouches. I've seen pouches that were focused on healing, pouches focused on spiritual work, pouches that were focused on empowerment, self-empowerment, psychic abilities, protection. Ooh, that was a big one. Protection pouches. Yeah, all the time. There's so many people out there that feel like they're under constant attack, so they get these pouches that's just all kinds of black stones, like I mentioned before. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. If you have something like some kind of ailment or respiratory, I think a lot of third eye stones I've come across have something to do with lungs or breathing or respiratory issues. So if you had something where you have asthma and you're just sick and tired of having asthma, part of the healing work you could do for yourself is to make a pouch that's just stones that pertain to that and just carry it around with you. It could take days, weeks, months, however long you feel like is necessary for you to carry it around until it does the work. You know, I did one. There's a woman I know who has to do dialysis, and she's been doing it for 10 to 20 years. Maybe not that long, but it's been a long time. She's been waiting for like kidney donors, and they're just not coming. You know, so every week she has to do dialysis, and it's rough. I've never had to do it, but I've learned a lot about it from knowing this person, and it sucks for anyone who has to do that, right? So I was actually I was putting together a list of things that had to do with mainly kidneys and liver, you know, but dialysis usually has to do with the kidneys mostly. So I got the list together and was going to make a pouch for this person for that specific reason, to help her in that process. I wasn't around, but I gave the list to my friend who's more friends with this person than I am, and let her know what my intention was, and I believe she put it together and gave it to her. I can't really say, that was months ago. But anyways, that's just some examples. Like, you can take just about anything you can think of, and there's stones associated with it. You can get those stones, put them in a pouch, carry them with you. Just make sure you cleanse them regularly or whatever, recharge them when you can. And yeah, it's just an interesting and fun idea, and I wanted to share that in this video. So that's all I've got for now. I thank you for watching this video, and I hope, I know that you got something from this video, especially if you watched it all the way to the end. You've got something from this video. Something here resonated with you. And I'm going to keep doing this because I'm actually learning to enjoy it. And I will see you in one of the next videos I make. I hopefully will have more information for you that you can enjoy and utilize for your own personal needs. So I express my gratitude and my unconditional love to all of us, to you. Have a great day. Goodbye.